Welcome back to Neo and Jiho, Part 31. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you're always in the loop with our latest updates. A big shout out to all you amazing viewers for the awesome feedback you leave in the comments. They were still in bed, lying close to each other. Jiho's arm rested lightly across Neo's shoulder, her head tilted toward him. Their breaths calm, but not yet fully ready to leave the comfort of the sheets. Neo blinked a few times and looked at him with that familiar curiosity, the one that always made Jiho feel like he had to give her something real, something truthful. Jiho turned his head toward her. His dark eyes held a trace of hesitation, as though he wasn't sure if he should start the day with a confession of his heart. But Neo waited, patient, her hand lightly tracing patterns on his chest as if urging him to speak. "There's something," Jiho finally said. "I don't talk about it much. Not even in business circles. It's not about power or money." Neo's lips curved into a smile. "Then it must be something beautiful." He took a breath. "I run several orphanages. Children who don't have anyone. I've made it my responsibility to make sure they eat, go to school, feel safe. I fund them quietly, no public announcements, no press, just making sure they live like any other child should." Neo's eyes widened, her whole body shifting toward him. "You're serious?" Jiho nodded. "One of them has an anniversary coming up soon, 10 years since it opened. They want me to attend the celebration." For a moment, Neo was silent, and then, as though the words overwhelmed her, she pushed herself up and practically leapt onto him, wrapping her arms around his neck tightly. Her sudden energy startled Jiho, and he let out a soft laugh as her hair brushed against his face. "You—" Neo's voice broke with emotion. "Jiho, you're a miracle. Do you even know that? Who carries the weight of the world's children when he has so many other things pressing on him? You call me strong, but this is beyond strength. This is a miracle." Jiho chuckled, his hands resting gently at her waist. "You call me a miracle?" "Neo, no. You are the miracle. You came into my life when I didn't even believe in such things anymore. You gave me a reason to think differently. If there's a miracle here, it's you." She shook her head firmly, her forehead pressing against his. "No, it's you." His voice lowered. "It's you, Neo." Her lips trembled into a grin. "Then maybe it's both of us." She pulled back slightly, her playful side coming alive. "And who knows, 2 miracles together might make a 3rd miracle one day." The words slipped out before she could think, but the instant she said them, her cheeks warmed. Jiho's expression softened into a deep smile, his eyes holding hers in silence before he suddenly burst into laughter. "A 3rd miracle?" he repeated, tilting his head. Neo laughed nervously, then smacked his chest lightly. "Don't laugh at me, Jiho." "I'm not laughing at you," he said, rolling over quickly, pinning her to the mattress in one swift move. "I'm laughing because you're right. 2 miracles together can do anything." Her squeal filled the room as he leaned down and began tickling her sides. She twisted beneath him, trying to escape, her laughter spilling uncontrollably. "Jiho, stop! Jiho, no!" "Not until you admit it," he teased, relentless. "Admit what?" she gasped between giggles. "That you're the miracle." "Never!" she shouted through her laughter, wriggling out of his grip and scrambling off the bed. She dashed across the room, hair flying, her bare feet padding against the polished floor. Jiho grinned, chasing after her with an energy that seemed far from his usual composed self. Neo darted toward the corner, but Jiho was faster. He caught her wrist gently, spun her back into his arms, and held her tight against his chest. They both panted from the playful chase, laughter hanging between them like a secret no one else could share. "You're impossible," she whispered, still catching her breath. "And you love it," he whispered back. Her lips brushed his cheek as she leaned into him, her smile softening. "Yes, I love it." For a moment, the room was quiet, only their heartbeats filling the air. Then Jiho pulled back slightly, glancing at the clock. "We should take a shower before the house fills up. Remember, the teacher is coming this morning. Your Korean lessons with Tumi, lesson number 3. Neo's eyes widened. "Oh no, I almost forgot." Jiho smirked. "We can't show up late to class in our own house." "Then what are we waiting for?" she said, tugging at his hand. They rushed into the bathroom together, the sound of water filling the air soon after. Their playful mood continued, splashes echoing as though they were two carefree teenagers instead of two adults burdened with responsibilities. The world outside didn't exist. It was just them, laughing, washing, teasing, and holding on to the precious freedom of the moment. By the time they stepped out, toweling off and dressing quickly, the energy of the household had shifted. The elderly Korean teacher had arrived. She was ushered into the study, her warm smile carrying the weight of decades of wisdom. She set her books on the polished table. Neo and Tumi greeted her respectfully, bowing slightly before taking their seats. Jiho lingered for a moment at the doorway, watching with a quiet smile as the two women began their lesson. Neo repeated phrases hesitantly at first, but the teacher nodded approvingly, correcting her gently, and Tumi encouraged her with a whisper here and there. It was a normal moment, yet Jiho treasured it, because normalcy was rare in his life. But it didn't last long. The sound of footsteps in the hallway signaled another arrival. Jiho stepped inside the mansion, his coat draped over one arm, his expression steady and serious. He caught Jiho's gaze across the room, and with a silent nod, Jiho excused himself from the study. They entered the smaller lounge room together, the door closing behind them. "What's the update?" Jiho asked, his tone shifting instantly from playful to business. Jiho and Jiho sat together in the study, the air heavy with the weight of private truths. Jiho's face was calm but serious, his eyes fixed on the man who had now become his shield. Jiho leaned slightly forward, his voice steady. "There is something you need to know, Jiho," Jiho said. "I discovered earlier that Yura had tried to poison your grandmother. She used the maid who once worked in your grandmother's house. That is why you returned from Botswana earlier with Neo when you had gone there. Jiho, this truth is painful, but you must know it." Jiho froze. His lips parted as the words struck him like a blade. "What? You mean Yura tried to kill my grandmother?" Without a word, Jiho opened his laptop. He clicked a file, and the room filled with a chilling voice recording. Yura's voice spoke clearly, telling the maid to give medicine to Jiho's grandmother. Her tone was sharp, cold, as if she was giving an order without care for the life it touched. Jiho's hand shook slightly as he pressed it to his forehead. His chest rose and fell in disbelief. "No, this cannot be." Jiho's eyes softened, but his words remained firm. "This is why I did not want to tell you before. It is about your loved one. But this is the truth. Your grandmother almost lost her life in the hospital because of Yura." Jiho closed his eyes, holding back the storm in his heart. Unbelievable. And I let her be so close. "I will send this audio back to Yura," Jiho said, "and I will make it clear. She has only two choices: disappear from your life forever, or face prison for what she did. That is her end." Jiho nodded slowly, breathing hard, the truth cutting deep. For a moment, silence hung between them. Then Jiho raised his head again. "What about Minjun's wife? Where does she stand in all this?" Jiho tapped the laptop once more. The screen glowed, showing folders filled with files. "Let me show you something," he said, turning the laptop toward Jiho. A video began to play. Minjun's wife appeared on the screen, seated in a quiet room. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Her lips moved in desperation, her eyes widened with fear. Again, she tried. Again, silence. Jiho leaned closer, his brows drawing tight. What is this?" "I disabled her ability to speak," Jiho explained calmly. "Not permanently, only when she tries to speak words with influence or danger. I did it through the devices around her. When she tries, her mind receives a block. It makes her believe her voice has been cut off." Jiho's mouth opened in shock. "You mean you can control her speech?" "Yes," Jiho said. His fingers tapped the keys again. Another video opened. This time she tried to write. Her hand shook over the paper, but the words came out broken, shattered lines that made no sense. She looked at the paper in confusion, then dropped the pen, terrified. "I also blocked her writing," Jiho said. "She can move her hand, yes, but her brain cannot focus. It breaks down the words before they leave her. It leaves her lost. She cannot send messages. She cannot complete thoughts on paper." Jiho stared, almost whispering, This is another level of technology. It is temporary, Taeho replied. Enough to place fear in her mind. She begins to believe she cannot speak or write. Fear grows. She avoids people. Those around her start to distrust her. They see her as unreliable. And slowly, she collapses into herself. She will go looking for help, doctors, treatments, but until then, she is frozen. She cannot advance in any evil plan. Her steps are locked. Another clip rolled. She was on a call trying to argue, but nothing came out of her mouth. The person on the other end frowned, confused, then hung up. Minjun's wife sat in silence, clutching her head in despair. Jiho leaned back, exhaling sharply. You have frozen her. Completely. That is the idea, Taeho said. His eyes were sharp, but his voice was calm. It is not revenge. It is control. She will not dare move against you or anyone else. I froze her advancement, Jiho. She cannot harm anyone while I am watching. Jiho placed a hand over his mouth, shaking his head slowly. Man, this is beyond anything I imagined. Another level of control. Taeho closed the laptop softly. She will not rise again. That is finished. Jiho's eyes lingered on the closed laptop, still caught between disbelief and respect. He breathed deeply, then changed the subject. There's something else I want to ask you. What do we do about that board member? The one who filmed Neo during her interview and leaked it to the media. Taeho's expression hardened. Give me 1 or 2 days. I will draft for you the best options. Whichever option you pick, it will end with him leaving the company by his own hand. He will surrender his shares himself and disappear quietly. I will make sure of that. Jiho nodded. I trust you. Thank you, Taeho. But his mind was not done. And one more thing. I need you to draw a secure plan for me. By next weekend, I want to hold an engagement party for Neo and me. It can be in the hotel or in the gardens, but security must be absolute. No risks. Guests should be screened. Scan their phones, their contacts, everything. No shadow must enter. Taeho leaned forward. Give me the guest list, Jiho. Everything you want. I will prepare the security myself. It will be airtight. Jiho nodded again, grateful. But he was not finished. His tone softened as he leaned back. There is also something personal I want to tell you. About the orphanages. Taeho tilted his head, listening carefully. Jiho went on. I have 25 orphanages. I've been funding them quietly under my friend Insu's name, but now things must change. Too many secrets are rising to the surface, and since Neo and I are going to be engaged soon, and you are my security lead, I want you to know everything, so that you can protect me best. Taeho sat in silence for a moment. His heart shifted. He already knew about the orphanages. His research had shown it. But to hear Jiho confess it directly, openly, touched something inside him. He thought quietly, what kind of rich man is this? One who hides nothing, one who tells the truth even when he doesn't need to. He looked at Jiho with respect. You are not like the others, Jiho. I see it now. You trust. And that makes you stronger than them all. Jiho's lips curved into a small smile. I trust because I must. Without trust, we are nothing. The clock on the wall ticked quietly. Time was moving, but the bond between them had deepened. At last, Jiho stood. Before you leave, there's someone I want you to meet. He led Taeho to the living room where his grandmother sat calmly, her hands folded on her lap. Her face lit up when she saw Jiho. Jiho said softly, This is the man who leads my security now. He is the one keeping us safe. Taeho bowed respectfully. It is an honor, madam. The grandmother studied him with gentle eyes, then smiled warmly. You carry light around you, I can feel it. And it is a beautiful light. Her words pierced deeply into Taeho's heart. He bowed again, touched. She asked him kindly, And your family? Do you have one? Yes, Taeho answered. I am married to an Egyptian woman. We have 2 children together. The grandmother nodded with joy. That is good. You looked outside the culture just like Jiho. That is love. That is wisdom. Jiho laughed softly, agreeing. The 3 of them shared a warm moment, lightening the heavy day. Then Jiho hugged the grandmother gently before stepping back. "Thank you, madam." She smiled. "Keep him safe. He is my light." "I will," Jiho promised. With that, he turned and left, his heart heavier but also brighter than when he came. By the time the door closed behind him, the clock pointed to 10 a.m. Jiho looked at Neo, waiting for him nearby. Together, they took their things. It was time to drive to the company for work.